صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي وسادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن المنافقين في الدرك الأسفل من النار ولن تجد لهم نصيرا. اللهم صل على Everybody sees according to the depth he has in his vision. Two people may be seeing the same exact thing. One person may be seeing something, another may be seeing something else. One person, when he sees a tree, he may see a tree. Yet others, when he sees a tree, he sees Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some, when they see the water, simply H2O, known as a sea or ocean. Yet Ali ibn Abi Talib, salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi, he says, مَا رَأَيْتُ شَيْئًا. He says, مَا رَأَيْتُ شَيْئًا إِلَّا وَرَأَيْتُ اللَّهِ فِيهِ قَبْلَهُ وَبَعْدَهُ. He says, I've never seen anything unless if I've seen Allah in it, with it, before it, and after it. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Meaning, the wavelengths that a human being sees depends on the depth he has in his vision and how aware he is as a human being. That's why you'll see one thing that the enemies of Ahlul Bayt salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhim ajma'een envied about them and just couldn't handle about them is that they were so aware. And something that attests to this point, a clear testimony, is that when did they kill our first Imam, salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi? They weren't able to face him face to face in the battlefield because they know Nahrawan, Jamal, Siffin, Uhud, Khandaq, Khaybar, and so on and so forth. Imam would kill his enemy in one of two ways, either horizontally or vertically. If you want to know who was killed by the hand of the Imam, salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi, go and look at the bodies. If some of them were cut, nitpicking, his neck and then his hands, they know this wasn't the Imam. Yet if it was one shot vertically or horizontally, he was split, they know that was by the hand of the Imam. That the Imam salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi was untouchable on the battlefield. Hence, they had to come to the Imam when? In Salah. Because they know in Salah, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi has checked out of this world. That's why even in Siffin, you'll see when the arrow came piercing into the heel of our blessed Imam salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi, they would come to Imam al-Hasan salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi, they would tell him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, your father has just been pierced with an arrow. When should we take it out? Should we wait? When is the best time? He would say, take it out when my father is in sujood. Why in sujood? Because when the Imam puts that forehead on the sand, everything is secondary except the Lord he's speaking to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nare salawat. Hence they would come to him in salah. They would come to him in Kufa in salah, or even in Siffin when he's praying, they would pierce. Why? Because of the level of awareness he had. That's why when we go to the battle of Uhud, we'll see that Hind would come to Wahshi, who was known for throwing spears at targets, professional spear thrower. Hind would come to him, she would tell him, Ya Wahshi, in Uhud I want you to go and kill for me the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad. In her terms, I want you to kill Muhammad. He would say, I can't do it. Why? Well, because he has too much protection around him. I can't reach him. It's difficult to reach him. Too many people love him. Can you kill for me Hamza? Yes, I can kill Hamza. How about Ali ibn Abi Talib? Can you kill him? No, I can't kill. Hind looks at him, she tells him, why can you kill Hamza, but you can't kill Ali? He would reply with a reply that shows to us the awareness of our first Imam. He would say, because when Hamza fights the person in front of him, he forgets the person behind him. Ya Ali ibn Abi Talib fights the person in front of him and knows exactly who's standing there behind him. Huh? level of awareness. Hence, they would have to come to him in Masjid of Kufa. Even when he was struck, did he show a sign of defeat? He would say, Fuztu wa Rabbil Kaaba. I have become victorious by the Lord of the Kaaba. This is awareness on the battlefield. For the most part, we shouldn't be aware in the sense of being able to handle an attack from a physical perspective, unless if you live in Detroit, that's a different question. You expect something physically. For the most part, we're not living in a battlefield and we're not living through a war-stricken area. Therefore, awareness comes in different levels and in different packages when speaking about the levels of awareness we must have, or we should have, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Muslims. There are nearly 4 different wavelengths, 4 different packages that society comes in and gives us, that one needs to be aware of. Because sometimes you hear something, what you hear isn't what was meant. What you see isn't really what you see. Therefore, Islam says awareness, yaqadha, in what sense? 4 different ways. Firstly, sometimes in society, the different types of divergences, where the outside doesn't match the inside. Number 1, is when you have the outside is good, but the inside is evil. Outside is white, inside is black. In better terms, this is known as hypocrisy, nifaq. Nifaq, when our imams, salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhim ajma'een, come and speak about nifaq, they show a hatred towards this disease, perhaps like no other disease. For example, our imam comes and says, there is nothing uglier than a two-headed person. Two-headed person in what sense? Meaning he shows something in front of you, behind closed doors he's something else. You know what's our problem with Muawiyah? Yazid, in public, he exposed his evil. In private, he exposed his evil. Muawiyah was a smart man. You know what Muawiyah would do? Muawiyah in public, sibha, beard, sujood, bismillah. In private, he would give shaitan lessons. The man was known for his hypocrisy. He put everybody to shame when it came to playing this two-sided game. Hypocrisy, nifaq. That's why our first imam, salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi, Ali ibn Abi Talib, he says the hypocrite is like colocynth. Colocynth is a fruit which is found perhaps in Indonesia. It looks like a watermelon, but when you taste it, it has the most bitter of tastes. Outside, looks nice. Inside, it has the most bitter of tastes. Nifaq. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and speaks about hypocrites within the Holy Quran, He says the lowest level of Jahannam is reserved for munafiqeen. The verse I began with, Surah An-Nisa, verse number 145. Allah says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ فِي الدَّرْكِ الْأَسْفَلِ مِنَ النَّارِ وَلَنْ تَجِدَ لَهُمْ نَصِيرًا. He says, indeed the hypocrites are in the lowest level of Jahannam, دَرْكِ الْأَسْفَلِ مِنَ النَّارِ وَلَنْ تَجِدَ لَهُمْ نَصِيرًا. For them, you will never find a helper. Now of course when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the layer which the munafiqeen will be in, He says darak and not daraj. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the layers of heaven, He says darajat. Yet when He speaks about the layers of hell, He says darakat. What's the difference between daraj and darak? Allama al-Tabatabai rahmatullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi, he says, both of them are stairs, but one of them are inclining stairs and another is declining stairs. When it comes to Jannah, it just gets higher. The second one is higher than the first. The third one is higher than the second. The fourth is higher than the third, and so on and so forth. Darak is a descending level of stairs. The seventh isn't the worst. What's the worst? The first. In what sense? Meaning the higher you go, the worse it gets. Quran comes and tells us there's 7 different kinds of darakat of Jahannam. Firstly, you have Jahannam. Typically when we speak about Nar, we say Jahannam. Jahannam is only one layer. Jahannam does what? It does jahm to the people. One reason why it was called Jahannam perhaps is that it does jahm, meaning what? It welcomes those with a fire that eats their bones and their meat as well. This is only the 7th layer. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's going to happen when we reach the 1st layer. 7th layer. 6th layer, they come and they refer to it as hatama. Hatama in Arabic, known as something that destroys, something that breaks, something that destructs something. Hatama. And the reason why it was called hatama is because the fire is so intense that it destructs the emotions of the human being to the extent that he cries tears, the tears dry. He cries blood, the blood dries. He cries blood after that, what does he do? He begins to have a white pus that begins to emit from his eyes until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows no mercy towards such a human being. 6th level only. 5th level, they come and they refer to it as that which is known as saqar. Saqar in what sense? Saqar not only does it eat the meat and the bones, but it has 300 castles, perhaps some ulama may say. In each castle there's 300 different rooms, and in each room there are 300 different colors of adab when it comes to the chains, when it comes to the pythons that are ahadith mentioned, and so on and so forth. Only at which level now? The 5th. You go on to the 4th level, and they refer to it as lava. Lava is interesting. Why? Because it's reserved perhaps for only those who didn't believe in Tawheed and didn't believe in the prophethood of Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Lava. You then come to another level, which is referred to as Al-Hawiyah. Al-Hawiyah is perhaps one of the worst levels of those 7. Why? Because the one who enters it does not come out of it. You see, there is a discussion, is hell infinite or is hell finite? This 7th layer, those who enter it do not come out of it, meaning it becomes an infinite form of punishment. And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did to make this hellfire so painful is that for 1,000 years He heated it until it became red. He then heated it for another 1,000 until it became white. He then heated it for another 1,000, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, until it became black, to the extent that it rages, mixing with the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now somebody comes and reads these layers, he says, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect me from this fire. That's why when we read in our famous dua, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابِ Nar. Protect me from the adab of nar. This 7th layer, known as Al-Hawiyah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and says, إِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ فِي الدَّرْكِ الْأَسْفَلِ مِنَ النَّارِ. Reserved for the hypocrites. Somebody comes and asks a question. Us as Muslims, we have many enemies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He speaks about the enemies of the Muslims within the Holy Quran, He says, they may be from this religion, they may be from that religion. Yet in one verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and tells us that there is a certain group who their animosity shown towards Islam is like none other. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? He says, إِذَا جَاءَكَ الْمُنَافِقُونَ قَالُوا نَشْهَدُ إِنَّكَ لَرَسُولُ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ إِنَّكَ لَرَسُولُهُ. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, وَإِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ لَكَاذِبُونَ. What does He say after that? He continues until He says, وَإِذَا رَأَيْتُهُمْ تُعْجِبُكَ أَجْسَامُهُم. You see them, their bodies are appeasing. You see him, he looks religious. This guy is a munafiq, impossible. He must be a mu'min. Because the problem is where? We'll continue. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتُهُمْ تُعْجِبُكَ أَجْسَامُهُم. You see them on the outside, he's appeasing. Yet the minute he talks, وَإِذَا, when you begin to listen to their words, كَأَنَّهُمْ خُشُبٌ مُسَنَّدًا. Firstly, وَإِذَا رَأَيْتُمْ تُعْجِبُكَ أَجْسَامُهُم وَإِنْ يَقُولُوا تَسْمَعْ لِقَوْلِهِمْ كَأَنَّهُمْ خُشُبٌ مُسَنَّدًا. Allah continues, He says, هُمُ الْعَدُوُّ. They are the enemy. Allah, how many non-Muslims have given us trouble as Muslims throughout our history? What have the crusade done to us? What have many of those who fell under the umbrella of being non-Muslims done to the religion of Islam? Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, هُمُ الْعَدُوُّ. They are the enemy. Do you know why? Because a hypocrite, when you see him, you don't know if he's an enemy. Yet when a clear enemy comes to you, not only don't you know he's an enemy, but he may be the one who's looking as if he's spreading Islam. He has come to bring the betterment of Islam. Just read history. Turn the pages of history. How many enemies claim to be Muslims? For example, Ka'b al-Ahbar. Ka'b al-Ahbar was who? Today read many narrations from the books of our respected brothers and sisters. You'll see a hadith narrated by Ka'b al-Ahbar. Ka'b al-Ahbar was who? He was a Yemeni Jew. What did he do? Yemeni Jew, he came to Medina when he heard of the name of the Prophet of Islam. Apparently, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he became a Muslim. Yeah, it's interesting. What did he end up doing? He went to Syria and became an advisor of Muawiyah. MashaAllah. One level he goes to Medina, because I love the Prophet of Islam, peace be upon his family. Yet the Prophet leaves, mashallah, he's advising Muawiyah, one of the most obstinate enemies of the religion of Islam. It doesn't stop there. You continue. You see somebody like Wahab ibn Munabbih, Jew, who apparently came to the religion of Islam, and began to do it. The problem is where? They come under the umbrella of Islam and they begin to give Judaic teachings as Muslims. Example, fasting on the 10th of Muharram. Who said we should fast on the 10th of Muharram? They say the Prophet would enter Medina, peace be upon his family. Peace be upon his family. He would enter Medina and he would see the Jews fasting on the 10th of Muharram. Assalamu alaikum Jews, why are you fasting on the 10th of Muharram? Well, today is when Musa alayhi salam split the sea. Prophet says, mashallah, I like that. 10th of Muharram is also valuable for us. Therefore, we're going to begin to fast on the 10th of Muharram. So the Prophet, peace be upon his family, who came to complete the teachings of Musa, salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is stealing teachings from Musa, salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How does that work? History works in very interesting ways. Furthermore, you look at Abdullah ibn Salam. 3 primary examples. You go to the books of our brothers. Ka'b al-Ahbar, giving you a hadith. Wahab ibn Munabbih, giving you a hadith. Abdullah ibn Salam, giving you a hadith. These are all who? Jews who apparently came to the religion of Islam, but began to spew Judaic teachings. And this is the problem with a hypocrite. A hypocrite, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Humul adu, he's the enemy. Why, ya Allah? Because he looks like he's a Muslim. Saddam was a Christian. Saddam wasn't Christian. Last time I checked, he claimed to be a Muslim. He would pray. Sometimes he would forget his shoes on, but that's a different story. He would pray. Saddam was a Christian. Yazid, did he claim to be a Jew? No. You look at, for example, somebody like Muawiyah. Did he claim to be a non-Muslim? No, he claimed to be a Muslim. So on and so forth. Until today, we see people saying Yazid, radiyallahu anhu. It's tough to say such things. Until today, you hear people saying Mu'awiyah. Do you know what people? We live in a time where the companion is raised over the Prophet, the student is raised over the teacher, and the killer is placed on the same level of the killed. Do you know what they say? Yazid, Sayyiduna Yazid, qatala Sayyiduna al-Husayn. Our master Yazid killed our master Hussein. How does that work? When there's a killed and a killer, shouldn't one of them be evil and one of them be good? Yeah, no. Today go on YouTube, and you search this mufti. Somebody comes to him and he asks him, what is this idea of Karbala, Hussein? What happened with Hussein? Do you know what he would say? No, word for word, paraphrasing, he says, إِنَّ بَيْعَةَ يَزِيد بَيْعَةً شَرْعِيَّةً أَخَذَهَا مِنْ أَبُوهُ مُعَاوِيَةً. He says, indeed, the oath of Yazid was a legitimate oath. He took it from his father, Muawiyah. فَقَدْ أَخْطَأَ الْحُسَيْنِ. Hussein made a mistake. The last line is a classic. Do you know what he says? He says, غَفَرَ اللَّهِ لِلْجَمِيعِ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all of them. You know what's the tragedy? Mufti is asking Allah to forgive Hussein. Hussein being a man who prophets asked Allah forgiveness through. Musa comes and says, Ya Allah, through Hussein, protect me. Isa, Nuh, Ibrahim, oh Allah, protect me through Hussein. But Mufti comes and says, oh Allah, please forgive Hussein. This is the time we live in. Therefore, you'll see these are what? These are people who, through misunderstanding Islam as being Muslims, began to spew their hatred towards the religion of Islam. That's why when Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi, he would raise his hands to dua. He wouldn't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect him from his enemies. He would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect him from his friends. He would say, Allahumma kfini sharra ashabi, فَأَمَّا أَعْدَائِ أَنَا كَفِيلٌ بِهِمْ. He would say, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, protect me from my who? From my friends. As for my enemies, I'll deal with them. Huh? You look at the Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, his family, he lived his whole life thinking his greatest enemies were his best friends. Only after did he die, he found out his greatest friends were indeed his greatest enemies. Huh? What does Abu Hurairah tell us? Abu Hurairah hits on the nail. He comes and he tells us that the Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, he would be standing, he would see a zumrah, a group being taken to Jahannam. He would say, Ya Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, who are these people? He would say, these are your ashab. He would say, Ya Allah, ashabi, ashabi. These are my companions, my companions. Why are you taking them to hell? Do you know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would reply to him? He would say, you don't know what they did after you died. Huh? These were who? These were friends, these were companions, yet this is the nature of what? Of a hypocrite. Therefore, the first group, you'll see that the inside expresses something which is evil, yet the outside, it appears as if he's good. Who? Munafiqeen, number one. Number two, you'll see that the outside is evil, but the inside is good. This is known as Taqiyya. Many people, they come and they accuse the religion of Islam, specifically Shi'ism, of being a religion or being a sect that lies. A lot of times you'll have Sunni friends, for example, you tell him, what does your ulama tell you when it comes to Shia? He'll tell you, they say don't speak to them because they lie. They do what? They perform taqiyya. I'm going to give you a number of references, not from our books, because one of the biggest blessings of the belief that we have in Ahl al-Bayt and Shia Islam, Salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhim ajma'in, is that we are able to prove our beliefs through the books of others. And perhaps Islam is the only religion that can make such a claim. We as Muslims can prove Islam in the Bible. We can prove Islam in the Torah, but none of Jews or Christians could prove their beliefs in our books. Because when we say we're a universal religion, we say we can open your book and be able to prove my teachings in your book. Today you go to a respected Sunni brother or sister and you tell her Taqiyya haram, correct? Of course, Taqiyya is lying, it's unacceptable. Otherwise, then why is it that when you go to the books of Jalaluddin al-Suyuti, one of the greatest ulama of our respected brothers and sisters, our Sunni brothers and sisters, you go to Jalaluddin al-Suyuti's books, and he comes and he says Taqiyya is when the tongue says something but the heart doesn't accept it. He continues and he says, in a situation where your life is on the line, Taqiyya is something that should happen perhaps. First reference. You go and you look at Sunan al-Bayhaqi, Mustadrik al-Hakim. These are all prime books of our respected brothers and sisters. They come and they say, Taqiyya is when your life is on the line. It's being threatened with death and you say something which your heart doesn't accept. I'll give you another example. When you look at Ammar bin Yasir, and they tell us in Al-Tabaqat al-Kubra, Ibn Sa'ad comes and narrates on the authority of Ibn Sirrin. He comes and he says in Al-Tabaqat al-Kubra, that the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and speaks about when he says إِلَّا مَنْ أُكْرِهَ وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about an incident where there's a group of people, he says something but his heart still has belief. Both sects, brothers and sisters, categorically come to an agreement that this verse came in reference to Ammar bin Yasir radiyallahu subhanahu wa ta'ala an. Ammar bin Yasir radiyallahu subhanahu wa ta'ala would come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would come to the Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, his family. He would say, Ya Rasulullah, they made me say it. What do you mean they made me say it? They made me curse you, they made me curse your family, and they made me expose the fact that I perhaps don't believe in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet of Islam would wipe the tears of Ammar bin Yasir and he would tell him, oh Ammar, they put your head in water and they forced you to say it. And if they come and do the same thing to you, say the same exact thing once again. What is he telling him? He's telling him that you are portraying an act of taqiyya. Now, Ammar bin Yasir did taqiyya. What does the Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, and his family say about Ammar? Does he curse Ammar wal-'ayadu billah? Astaghfirullah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No. He comes and he says, Ammar is with truth. And truth is with Ammar. Perhaps only two individuals in history were referred into such a way. Aliyun ma'al haq wal haq ma' Ali, and Ammar ma'al haq wal haq ma' Ammar. This is the, furthermore he would continue. He would say Ammar is filled with faith from his head to his feet. Do you want me to continue? He would say faith to Ammar is like a crown on his head. It's too clear for anybody to miss it. This is who? Ammar bin Yasir. This is Taqiyya. What's the problem with Taqiyya? If I'm not saying what my heart believes in, the fact is that my heart may believe in something, but my tongue says something else. That's why if we were to rewind and go back to this idea of nifaq and hypocrisy, one character of a hypocrite is that he's very opportunistic, because we're speaking about different layers. Hypocrites being one of the most prime examples. You'll see a hypocrite. One of his characters is that there is no firmness or stability in his personality. Meaning, a hypocrite is everywhere, yet nowhere. A hypocrite, he shows that he loves everybody, but in fact he has no attachment towards anybody. A hypocrite, he can't show mercy. It's difficult for a hypocrite to show mercy. Why? Because he doesn't run on principle, he runs on opportunity. Put him in any instance, if there is a call to compromise your beliefs, he doesn't mind, as long as there's what? There is an opportunity for him. The Prophet of Islam, he says the Muslim or the mu'min is like a wheat. You see the wheat in the garden? When wind comes to strike it, it bends. Yet a hypocrite is like a tree. If wind comes, it stays stubborn. That's why the trees end up breaking. The Prophet of Islam, because when you look at the Holy Quran, one description that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us of the hypocrites, He says, وَإِذَا رَأَيْتُهُمْ تُعْجِبُكَ أَجْسَامُهُمْ وَيَقُولُ تَسْمَعَ لِقَوْلِهِمْ كَأَنَّهُمْ خُشُبٌ مُسَنَّدَةٌ. They are like hollow pieces of wood. Somebody comes to ask a question. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comparing a hypocrite to a piece of wood? You know what? Some ulama come and say piece of wood has no benefit, because some of the Muslims in the time of Prophet Islam, peace be upon his family, would come into the masjid, he would be giving a sermon, they would put their fingers in their ears. They would basically wipe out what the Prophet Islam, peace be upon his family, was saying. Another description of this verse is quite interesting. It says that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and says the hypocrites are like hollow pieces of wood. Why? Because a hollow piece of wood in the time of disaster is stubborn, therefore it ends up breaking. Meaning what? Meaning a hypocrite, when there's an opportunity, you'll find him there. Yet he will never show mercy, even though it doesn't compromise his principles. A Muslim, a mu'min, shows mercy if there's no compromise to his principles. Many times there's this notion perhaps that's spread around that we always have to be strong. Always have to show no compromise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if there is no compromise for your beliefs, there's no problem in showing compassion and mercy. That's why when you see, for example, the Holy Quran, when it speaks about the mercy of the Prophet of Islam, it says he was what? He was the pinnacle of mercy. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Yet when it came to his enemy, he was the strongest. Ali ibn Abi Talib, salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi, when it came to the enemy, he had a frown. Yet when there was no compromise to his principles, he would show mercy. فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. It's from the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that your heart became soft for them. Allah continues and He says, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ. If your heart was hard-hearted, they would have flocked away from you. I'll give you an example of this idea of showing mercy if there's no compromise to your beliefs. When you look at Hudaybiyah, Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him and his family, are passing by an area known as Hudaybiyah. They stop to perform Umrah. Quraysh, polytheists, they come and they say, we don't allow you to perform Umrah here. Therefore, we're going to make a treaty, because we don't want you to be here as Muslims. Go back to Mecca. The Prophet of Islam, he waits until he sees Suhail ibn Umar. Suhail ibn Umar comes, they begin to write a treaty, saying that you must leave, you can come back next year under the condition that you don't stay for more than 3 days and you have no weapons except a traveler's sword. The Prophet says, no worries. Suhail ibn Umar comes, he begins to praise the Prophet of Islam. He begins to tell him, oh Abu al-Qasim, if you were to enter Mecca, then you would indeed show to us that we are weak and you are strong. Therefore, we want you, please, to go back to your place unless you expose our weakness. Prophet tells him, Suhail, what are you trying to get to? He's saying, Ya Rasulullah, O Muhammad, leave. Prophet says, no worries. For the sake of Islam, for the sake of the protection of the religion, I'm going to sign such a treaty. They bring the paper, they bring pencil. He gives the paper and pencil to Ali ibn Abi Talib, salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He tells him, Ya Ali, begin to write. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Suhail comes, stop! If we believed your God was merciful and gracious, we wouldn't be signing this treaty in the first place. No Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He looks up and he says, Ya Rasulullah, you give him the permission? He says, put in the name of God. That's it. He continues, he says, from Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So he comes, stop! If we believed you were Rasulullah, we wouldn't have been signing this treaty in the first place. Erase it. You want to know who Ali ibn Abi Talib sallallahu subhanahu wa ta'ala was? Look at this instant. He would turn to the Prophet, he would say, Ya Rasulullah, what should I do? He would say, erase it. He wouldn't erase it. He would say, Ya Ali, I told you to erase it, erase it. Say, Ya Rasulullah, I'm not going to erase it. He says, Ya Ali, I'm the Prophet, I'm telling you, erase it. No, I can't do it. How could I erase prophethood from the name of Muhammad? He says, I can't do it. He doesn't do it. Rasulullah tells him, give me the pencil. He begins to erase the name Rasulullah from Muhammad. It became what? From Muhammad. The Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, would turn to Ali ibn Abi Talib sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He would tell him, Ya Ali, you would face a similar instant. Years pass. Siffin comes across. Amr ibn al-As comes and writes a treaty. With who? With Ali ibn Abi Talib sallallahu alayhi. Amir al-Mu'mineen would call his secretary, Ubaydullah ibn Rafi'. He would tell him, begin to write. From Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ubaydullah ibn Rafi' comes. Stop! Erase it. If we believed you were Amir al-Mu'mineen, we wouldn't have had this treaty in the first place. He would write. 3 days they would wait because the companions of the blessed Imam Salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala refused to erase it until the Imam said, erase it. Imam would make a statement which shows to us how history tends to repeat itself. He would say, Sunnah bi Sunnah. He would say one time repeated for the same exact. Sunnah bi Sunnah. What the Prophet went through, peace be upon his family, is what I'm going through. Therefore, a mu'min, he compromises his beliefs if there is no what? If there is no destruction or pain brought about towards the religion of Islam. He shows mercy. Yet when there is a compromise to his beliefs, he's that mountain. He is that tree when the tornado comes across. Look at the firmness of our Imams. You simply take the instant where the Abu Talib radiallahu ta'ala would walk into the room. Quraysh would tell him, oh Abu Talib, go and tell the Prophet. We will give him the females of Arabia, the wealth of Arabia, the money, anything he wants, under one condition. He must stop saying La ilaha illallah. Abu Talib would enter. He would see the Prophet sitting down. He would come to him. He would tell him, Ya Am, oh uncle, they have put me in a situation. He would tell him, oh Abu Talib, they've put me in a situation. That I must tell you to, they would give you anything under one condition. Do not say La ilaha illallah. You know what he would say? He would say, Ya Am, if they didn't give me the females, if they didn't give me the wealth, if they didn't give me the palaces, if they didn't give me anything, if they placed the moon in my right hand and the sun in my left, so that I stop saying La ilaha illallah, by the God that I worship, never would I do such a thing. This is what? This is firmness in character. You look at Ali ibn Abi Talib, the firmness he had on the battlefield, the firmness he displayed in his character, second to none, no doubt. Yet when there was no compromise to the beliefs, the Imams were pinnacles, and indeed were what? They were templates of mercy and rahmah. Hence you'll see nifaq and you'll see taqiyya. Nifaq being when the outside exposes something which is good, yet the inside is evil. Taqiyya being when the outside shows evil, but the inside is good. What do we call it when both are white? Inside and out. When inside is white and outside is also white. When inside is good and outside is also good. They come and they refer to this as yaqeen. Yaqeen is when what you say is an exact parallel to what you believe. There is no gap between what is said and between what is believed. Notice what the Imam says. He says yaqeen is a tree. Its roots are in the heart and its fruits are on the tongue. Meaning what? Meaning there's a connection between what the tongue says and between what the heart says. There is a parallel relationship between the mind, the heart, and also the body and the words. You look at somewhere like Ibrahim, salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi. Ibrahim, ala nabiyina wa ala alihi wa alayhi salam, would try to parallel these three. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the instance. Firstly, he wanted to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intellectually. He wanted to do what? He wanted to parallel the three. So there's no gap between the outside and the inside. So there's no gap between what is believed, what is said, and indeed what is thought. He wanted to bridge the three altogether. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and tells us, وَلِنُرِيَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلَكُوتَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. We're going to show Ibrahim the malakut. Malakut is what? Malakut is to see the reality of things. I see a sun. An Imam wouldn't see a sun. He would see the qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I see a mountain. Simply a mountain made of rocks. The Imam sees the potential and the ability of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They see things as they really are. Look at our 7th Imam Salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayh. He would once be in Hajj. Ibrahim ibn Yaqteen perhaps would come to him. Or Ali ibn Yaqteen would come to him perhaps, and he would tell him, Imam, mashallah, how many Hujjaj are doing pilgrimage today? Fascinating. Many Muslims, alhamdulillah. He would tell him, don't get excited. Come. He would tell him, look through my 2 fingers. He would give him 2 fingers, he would begin to see. He looks, he sees monkeys and pigs doing the tawaf. He tells him, oh Ali, you see people, but I see the reality of the people. I see monkeys and pigs. Why? Because they may look like humans, but their hearts, actions and beliefs are no different than that of a dog and a pig. That's why when you look at the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and tells us that وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ, when the animals will be resurrected. Question, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to question animals? Last time I checked, a cat for stealing milk wouldn't be asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet, وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ, when the animals will be resurrected. Why are animals going to be resurrected? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perhaps is saying that the one that acted like an animal will be resurrected like an animal. The one who was constantly biting, stealing, barking, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and says, he will be resurrected. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and says, كُونُوا قِرَدَةً خَاسِئِينَ, be monkeys who are losers. What do you mean be monkeys? I mean you acted like a monkey, you acted like this animal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrect you like the animal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to show Ibrahim the realities. How? وَلِنُرِيَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلَكُوتَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Why? وَلِيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ, so that he can be from the certain ones. Allah tells us, فَلَمَّا جَنَّ عَلَيْهِ اللَّيْلِ, the night would come down. رَأَى كَوْكَبًا, he would see a planet. قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي, this is my Lord. فَلَمَّا أَفِلَ قَالَ إِنِّي لَا أُحِبُّ الْآفِلِينَ, planet would disappear. Some ulama say perhaps Venus. Planet would disappear. He would turn, come the next day. فَلَمَّا جَنَّ عَلَيْهِ اللَّيْلِ رَأَى شَمْسًا قَالَ هَذَا أَكْبَرُ, he would see a star. He would say, this is bigger, this must be my Lord. هَذَا رَبِّي هَذَا أَكْبَرُ, this is bigger. It also disappears. He says, Ya Allah, it's getting very difficult. He comes the 3rd day. He sees the moon. فَلَمَّا رَأَى الْقَمَرَ بَازِغَةً قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي, must be my Lord. Then the rays are glistening further than the sun and the planet. It must be my Lord. Also disappears. He turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He would say, Ya Allah, فَإِن لَمْ تَهْدِنِي لَأَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِينَ. He would say, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you don't guide me, I'll be from the ones who are led astray. What was he doing? He was intellectually trying to find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Did he stop there? He didn't stop there. He would come in another instance. He would say, Rabbi, أَرِنِي كَيْفَ تُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى. Oh my Lord, show me, how do you resurrect the dead? Ibrahim, أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ, do you not believe? قَالَ بَلَى وَلَكِنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. He says, yes, I believe. Yeah, I want my heart to feel it. Ibrahim, you've already met me intellectually. Through your mind, you know me. What else do you want? Oh Allah, I want that mental knowledge to seep in as spiritual knowledge. It's not enough, Ya Allah. I want لِيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ. How? Rabbi arini, show me, how do you resurrect the dead? How? Why? أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ, yes, I believe. وَلَكِنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي, I want my heart to feel it. Islam is not only a religion of logic. Islam is a religion of faith as well. You'll see atheism, has been mentioned before, is what? Is logic without faith. Hinduism is faith without logic. Islam is perhaps the only religion that bridges between faith and logic as well. Meaning the heart has to have an attachment. Therefore, he says, وَلْيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ. How? Firstly, intellectually, then through his heart. لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. That's why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and speaks about Ibrahim, salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi, He says, Ibrahim ma kana Yahudiyan, ولا كان نصرانيا ولكن كان حنيفا مسلما. Neither was he a Christian, nor was he a Jew. He was an upright Muslim. Hanifan, he was a muwahhid. He was one who was one. You'll see many people, he's disunited as an individual. Ibrahim attained that level of unity. Many people come and ask the question, why is there disunity in the world? Do you know why? When there's a disunited Lord, we have a disunited society. When that Lord is one, the goal is one. Society becomes one. One Lord equals one individual, and one individual equals one society. The problem is when this person worships a cow, this person worships a rat, this person worships fire, this person worships a person who is crucified, and this person worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not to crack jokes, but you go into our Christian centers, you go into a Chinese center, you see, why is it that Jesus, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, looks Chinese? No? His eyes have been stretched. No worries. You go to a white center, all of a sudden, his hair, he's had a hair job, it's been curly, he dyed it blonde, a little bit whiter, no problem. You go into an African American center, all of a sudden Jesus, his skin has become darker, his hair has become a little bit shorter. Someone comes and says, is this something to crack jokes? No, it's a reality. Why? Because when the Lord is disunited, don't be surprised what can happen after that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I am one, I want you to be one. Yet when your Lord is three entities, or your Lord is a man who is crucified on the cross, this has an unbelievable effect on your character. There's a psychological effect to believing in a Lord who has been cut into more than one piece. Allah says, I want you to have one vision, one target. Unite your mind, heart and body in believing in a united Lord. That's why you'll see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and says that your potential depends on the Lord that you worship. If your limitation or your Lord is a man who is crucified, then with him your hopes, aspirations have been crucified as well. If your Lord is a rat, then God help you, because your highest percentage in life that you can reach is found in that rat. Yet, if your Lord is an all-encompassing Lord, a Lord who the skies and the earth are nothing but of His creations, then your limitation is what? It's nothing. There is no limitation. That's why when I say I follow the Prophet of Islam, peace be upon his family, why? You want to follow a different athlete, that's your choice. You'll go into some rooms, perhaps you'll see a picture of, we're in New Jersey, right? You'll see a picture of Paul Pierce, right? Or you'll see somebody else has a picture of Kevin Garnett. That's his choice. That's his that's his athlete, that's his template. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He comes in, He says, follow, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. For you in the Prophet is the best examples. Why? Because I know this man, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, reached maqam al-mahmud. I would never reach maqam mahmud, yet aim for the moon, you may fall on one of the stars.
Nare salawat.
That's why they say one day a man, that's why they say one man, he entered the hawza, and the deen of the hawza would go to ask them questions. He would come to the first one, he would ask him, why are you in the hawza? Well, I want to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second man, why are you in the hawza? I want to gain knowledge. Third man would give him an interesting reply. He would say, I'm in the hawza because I want to be like Ayatollah al-Khu'i, rahmatullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He would look at him, he would begin to tell him, you'll never make it. Say, why? My first day, at least lie to me, huh? Tell me, I may make it, huh? Even though lying is haram, but give him some support. He would say, you'll never make it, like Ayatollah al-Khu'i. Say, why? He would say, if your goal is Ayatollah al-Khu'i, rahmatullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi, you'll fall short of Ayatollah al-Khu'i, rahmatullah. Yet if your goal is Muhammad ibn Abdullah, not only would you reach Ayatollah al-Khu'i, you'll surpass him. What is he saying? He's saying if the goal is something which is infinite, I want to be like the Prophet. My footstep is like the Prophet. How did the Prophet eat? I begin to eat like him. How did the Prophet speak? I begin to speak like him. What was the respect the Prophet showed towards his father? Allahu Akbar. They would tell him, oh Muhammad, you are great. He would say, Abdullah is better than me. Abdullah, you are Rasulullah, you are Khairul Khalq. Angels would prostrate down to you. You were created before Adam. Adam was still between mud and water. You're saying that Abdullah is better than you. This is my father. This is the respect. Meaning, when the template is there, I may not reach it, but I may reach the highest level that I can reach as a human being. That's why you'll see on a night like this, when you go to Karbala, you'll see when we come on the 4th of Muharram, some come and remember Hur. Hur was so great. Why? Because you always loved Ahlul Bayt, but the outside became matched with the inside on that night in Karbala. Hur always loved Ahlul Bayt. They say that they would come, when it came time for Salah in Karbala, Hur would come and begin to pray with Imam al-Hussein, Salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi. He would pray with him. To the extent that they say when Imam al-Hussein Salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi would see Hur, he would say, ماذا تريد ثكلتك أمك. What do you want from us? May your mother be burdened with your loss. This ثكلتك أمك was a term Arabs used to use. When they didn't like somebody or when somebody was an enemy, he would say, may your mother be burdened with your loss. ثكلتك أمك. Do you know what Hur would reply? He would say, oh Hussein, if it was anybody other than you, I would have said the same thing to your mother. But I know nothing evil about your mother Fatima. Hur. To the extent that Hur, they say, he would come towards the Imam, but before that they would see him trembling from fear. They would see his face was pale in a situation they've never seen him before. They would say, Ya Hur, what's wrong with you? We've never seen you in this situation. You are the leader of our army. He would say, إِنِّي أُخَيِّرُ نَفْسِي بَيْنَ الْجَنَّةِ وَالنَّارِ. He would say, I'm deciding, do I want to go to hell or do I want to go to heaven? They say that Hur would come to the Imam. He would come down from his horse. He would bend down in the Imam like a servant. He would tell him, Ya Imam, I ask for you the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He would say, Ya Hur, if your forgiveness and repentance is sincere, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would accept it. He would say, what can I do? They say that he would tell him, oh Hur, go and fight on my behalf. And on the behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet, Hur would go and he would become a shaheed. This is one instant of somebody who clicked. Another instant is Hind. Zainab alayhi salam would walk into Sham. She would look at this lady. She would say, oh Kulthum, do you know her? We know that lady. Hind was a servant in the house of the first Imam Salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi. But when Yazid, Muawiyah heard that there was a lady of Jewish descent, he would take her and wed her to Yazid. She would leave Sham. She would know nothing about Karbala. She would know nothing about Imam al-Hussein Salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi and what happened to his family. Zainab Salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be walking. Do you know her? No, I don't. That's Hind. They passed by the throne. Hind would ask her, oh ladies, where do you come from? She would say, we come from Karbala, but we're originally from Medina. Hind, when she heard the name of Medina, she came down from her throne. Zainab Salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say, why did you come down from your throne when you heard the name Medina? She would say, because of the love I have for the people I know in Medina. She would say, who do you know in Medina? She would say, I know Zainab, I know Hussein, I know Hassan, I know these beloved individuals. She would say, do you know anything about them? She would begin to reply saying, if you ask me about Hussein, then go and find his head in the castle of your husband. If you ask me about Abbas, then go and find his arms next to the river. If you ask me about, tell me about Zainab. If you ask me about Zainab, I am Zainab, daughter of Ali, Salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi. She would say, what have they done to you? She would say, this is what your husband Yazid has done to us. They say that Hind would take a rock, she would bash it upon her head, she would fall unconscious. When she woke up, she would go into the castle of Yazid with her hijab off. Some say Yazid would tell her, oh Hind, go and put your hijab back on. Do you know what she would say? She would say, you ask me to put my hijab hijab. When the daughters of the Prophet are left without a hijab, they say that's when Ruqayya wanted the hijab to be placed back on her head. She would go to Shimr telling him, Shimr, give me a hijab. She would go back to Zainab crying. Zainab would say, Ya Ruqayya, why do you cry? She says, because I went to Shimr asking for a hijab, but he gave me a slap on my cheek. He ripped the earrings from my ear and he cursed my beloved Ali. And that's why when Zainab would be passing by the bodies of Karbala, one thing that bothered her more than anything else was that she didn't have the ability to send her salams to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Do you know why? She would come down from the camel, she would say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. She would want to run to the camel. Imam Zainul Abidin would say, Amma Zainab irhami dha'fa badani. My own Zainab, have mercy on my body. What do you want me to do? He would say, Wadda'i akhaki min ala dhahri naqa. Farewell him from upon the camel. She would go back on the camel, she would begin to scream, Assalamu alayk ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayk ya ibn Rasulillah. They say she would see an old man on top of the body, disheveled hair, no slippers, ajallakumullah on his feet. She would say, old man, protect him, please don't harm him anymore, he's in the worst of situations. They say the man would turn around and say, Zainab, why didn't you recognize your grandfather Muhammad? He was there speaking to the body of Aba Abdullah, saying, Sallallahu alayk ya Aba Abdullah. But Amma Yujib 5 times with the tears in the eyes and with the sadness that is felt in the heart towards Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. They say that dua is answered تحت قبة الحسين, under the dome of Imam al-Hussein salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi. We're not in Karbala, but we know in our hearts there's a dome for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Therefore we'll raise our hands and say 5 times, asking Allah through the musib of Aba Abdullah salamullah subhanahu wa ta'ala alayhi. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibul المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. One more time. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. والاستجابة الدعاء, to answer the dua, to hasten the appearance of our tough and awaited Imam, and to accept the efforts of those who have put this majlis together and all those who have attended. We recite Surah Al-Fatiha wa the salawat ala Muhammadin wa ahli Muhammad.